Oh, off to a grand start. Hello. Harand, Queco, Matthias, AC, Fasdoif, Mistake. Got in there first. That's what it's all about. It's not about the code. It's not about the project. It's all about beating Queco on Twitch. Do bug in your LLVM IR. I am color me intrigued. Giannis, hello. Just, does that mean you need more or less context, bro? I mean, surely the whole point of null pointer is any integral value is an implementation detail. Zero might be a valid address on your particular system. Julian, hello. Discord is dead. What does that mean? I did alert and such. But aren't there some architectures? I want to say AIX. Well, that's a ISA, but aren't there some architectures like this, the IBM ones, where zero is a valid, like zero is always mapped? There's always a page mapped in at zero. I don't know. Who knows? I don't know what I'm talking about. Let's make it up as we go along. I've optimistically called this stream deferred renderer, although we still have a bunch of stuff to get done from where we left the last stream is a bit of a middle ground where like there's some stuff there's stuff to be done, but probably not a full stream. But do I want to be starting something massive halfway through? But I've optimistically said we're just going to bash that out and try and start the deferred renderer, at least maybe just rendering to multiple targets. Yes, 100. It's very surreal, very surreal. It's not quite set in it to me. I've not fully comprehended the fact that after 3.5 years, whatever, of doing this, I've hit like the big milestone. Yes, of course. I mean, there's nothing to stop you trying to map it in, assuming your kernel lets you. All programming is just a bunch of trial and error. It's got nothing to do with it's domain irrelevant. Yeah, the Denuvo video is doing good numbers. It's bringing some new people in, which is good. Okay, so quick recap of where we were last time. Let's push the button. Okay, so we have this now. So we have some notion of lighting with Emery. Still we can't remember after 18 months. I didn't do any. I'm very careful with my wording here. So the question was, did it affect performance? Like everything I added had miserable performance because I didn't do it in an optimal way. I was quite careful to avoid any conversation around the performance of the DRM because that's really not the thrust of that project, and there are people kind of doing research into that, and it's a lot more in depth than I was going to do. So I kind of deliberately avoided that topic. You can make a lot of people have made their own inferences from what I've said, but I have no metrics to back it up, so it's not really, I don't think it's right for me to kind of have an opinion on that. Debugging graphics is a bit of a nightmare, yes. Yeah, C# games are fun to mess with. I plan on doing more. I want to go. I don't know what I'm going to do next. Like, I want to take a break from doing DRM videos because they're an awful lot of work and make me miserable. Make me quite grumpy. I want to do some more like maybe fixing games that don't work on modern Windows, or sort of dicking around with other games, like doing some code injection stuff. I haven't really got a plan for the next video. but I have more than enough suggestions from people in the community on stuff to look at. So we'll definitely be looking at that. Yeah, I mean, like, Denua is just a library you bring in, right? And they have tooling for measuring the impact and advice, and it's really up to the studio, like, how ham they want to go on it. Carl, hello. Speaking of someone who's doing research into the performance impact of DRM. Of course, yes, please give me all the video suggestions. Okay, and then we change the color of the light, which is pretty grand, and then we've got some other bits and pieces we can change, like the intensity of this. Don't do that. The intensity of the specular amount and the attenuation. So we can have a bit of fun with this. I'm going to mess with everyone's compression. That is a very bright light. Okay, things to finish off first. I had a brainwave, right? It doesn't happen very often. So the thing that we spent about an hour messing around with last stream, which made me incredibly unhappy, was the new C++26 embed feature. The idea being you give it a file and then it just takes the contents of that file and then stuffs it into your code. I think it comma separates the bytes. And like we had to suffix misery, okay, fine. But this is kind of great, I guess, but I don't really want this in the renderer. Like, this is totally irrelevant to the renderer. The renderer should just be able to say, can you please find me this resource, right? We literally have an interface for this, right? Like, this is an interface for literally an interface for loading resources, right? You can give me something as a string or something as a vector of bytes, right? And we have a implementation of this that uses the file system. We should really have an embed resource loader, right? And then that way I kind of get the best of all worlds. When we're developing, we can use the file resource loader because it'll just pull them off the disk and they're all there. But when I want to distribute it, we can just ship with the embedded one, and then all the data will be right in the game, right? No, we don't have to worry about the TLV like all the stuff we did last time. We don't have to worry about I think this solves the issues I had last time where I was committed quite early on to custom binary format for all the resources and then having a bunch of tooling which packed it and then had to compress it and then rebuilding and stuff. I feel like this is it, right? We can solve this. And then something command line flag, just switch between the two at runtime. So that's what I think we're going to do first. I'm going to do that first. Then I'm going to finally finish off the binders textures because I don't know about you, but I bloody hate this code. This is making me upset. Bish bash bosh, and then we can start looking at the deferred render, which means we're going to have to set up frame buffers. We're going to have to set up multi-target rendering. I want to do a bit of integration with ImGUI to kind of get to be able to render out the different passes. So there's quite a lot to be done. Okay, let's go. So let's write some code. Source resource loader. Let's do embedded resource. Wait a minute. What did I call the other one? File resource loader. Okay. Source resources embedded resource loader.h. Yeah, I'm not going too mad on that. I'm kind of thinking maybe beginning of the month, there'll be like the YouTube giveaways and stuff like that, and that'd be kind of interesting. And maybe towards the end of the month, I add a few extra the Twitch things back in. I don't want it to go too mad, but I also don't want it to totally go away. I'm kind of just experimenting at the moment with how I want to run that. Okay, so let's create a namespace. Okay. And then go resource loader of one of these. Let's have one of these. Okay. Resource loader. And then class embedded resource loader will be a public resource loader. Okay, it's a good place to start. There is no such thing as a superior language, right? The idea being, if there was a superior one, everyone would use it. There's no total ordering of languages. There's different ones for different jobs, right? And this is not the best, but this is a good one for this job, and it's the one I know. So why would you ever use a pointer? Because you want to mutate something normally, or it's an abstraction, right? So it allows you to access data without passing that data in. So you can use it for efficiency, so you don't have to copy the whole data in. You can use it to provide mutable access to something because C++ is passed by value. A whole bunch of reasons. We'll probably see some as we go along. Well, of course, yes, we could do it all in brainfucks. No, my usage of AI is very minimal for this, and I plan on writing as much code as possible. I think it's a good. I think it's a good experience to write code. The arrow dagger for editing the position of the light. Oh, the Gizmo. No, that's a plugin for Dear ImGUI called ImGuizmo. I did not write that. Okay, so we got that, and then I'm just going to take these two and shove these in here, and then we're going to need some more utils, data buffer, and delete all that code. Didn't want that. That was useless. That was bad code. And then string. Okay, bring that in, and then that. Override that. Okay, so this is our basic implementation. Okay. Okay, so your name. Hello. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to probably, so with this implementation, effectively the translation unit is going to be fat. It's going to be big. It's going to have all those resources in it as arrays. So I probably don't want to also load those into memory at the same time. Like, I don't want to just sort of duplicate that unnecessarily. I mean, obviously it'll already be loaded into the binary, so there's no point automatically heap allocating that. So what I'll probably do is these will be effectively like lazy. It'll just go and find one of those which will be mapped in like the data section or whatever section it's mapped in, and then copies it out into one of these heap allocated structures rather than sort of pre-heap allocating everything. That's kind of my plan. You shouldn't be loading resources on the hot path. You should be basically preloading everything. So this class it doesn't do anything at the moment, but it will allow us to pull resources out that have been embedded directly into the binary. Like, it will become clear when we write some code. So let's do yes, source resources embedded CPP hash include resources embedded. Embedded namespace oofs. I'm pretty much going to want these, at least these headers here, and then going to want to. Well, I'm just, as always, I'm just going to start writing code, and I'll figure out the rest as I go along. Okay. Ooh, what happened there? Yeah. Well, a lot of warnings, but we're getting there. Betty, arm off. Betty, hello. Yeah, I mean, if we had a loading screen, we would do that. Again, this isn't going to be like a full game. It's more of a vertical slice of the game, but with all the tech that you would need, or the majority of the tech you would need to build the game. That's kind of my plan. I'm more interested in building the tech than actually building a game. But you should be able to run around and shoot some stuff and have some skeletal animation and sort of stuff like that. Almost 2, hello. So it's such a great question, right? So would I ever go into more detail? Presumably, maybe you're more alluding to like a tutorial about sort of exporting, proxying DLL and all the function exporting and sort of presumably like IAT hooking. I'm not. YouTube is complex and very much rewards you for being consistent. And there's basically 2 types of videos you can produce, right? You can produce videos that target search. So there's like tutorial based. They're effectively that, if you get it right, they're kind of evergreen because people will always be searching it. Low initial takeoff, right? But potentially reaps the reward over time, but doesn't really grow an audience because, like, how often do you watch a tutorial for one thing that you're interested in and then subscribe? Not that often. The other one is browse based. So these are the ones that appear on your homepage. These are the ones that YouTube is actively pushing to you for you to enjoy. And those are, they either basically they hit or miss, right? They either take off or they don't. But those are the ones that tend to see the big expansion in your audience. So those are the ones I'm focusing on at the moment because I don't have loads I wish I had more time to produce more videos. I can really only do about 1 a month on the kind of content that I'm doing at the moment. So I'm focusing on maximizing my impact on the platform. And that means maximizing my reach, which means I'm kind of focusing on more of the edutainment. I don't really like the word, but edutainment style videos. They tell a story, they're technically interesting, but they're not something you're going to sit down and follow step by step, right? That they are more, I would say the videos I produce are much more story driven than tutorial driven. So I have no plans at the moment, but do join the Discord and ask questions. And I'm more than happy to chat with people kind of either one-on-one or just in that about those kind of things. And most of my code is open source as well. Pressed it. Yeah, I mean, it's still be technical. Like, I want videos to appeal to people who are interested in technical details and interested in learning more and interested about understanding how things work, but not to watch the video to necessarily get all the details about that. It should be, I guess, more inspiring, for want of a better word. Okay, so I got this. Let's just wire this up. A, B, C, D, E. I cannot spell. Okay, so that build it. So let's do renderer. So there's a couple of interesting things here. One, we stored these in a char array, right? One, or const array. One could call that a string. Not null terminated because the file's not terminated. That's fine. We had this issue where one was effectively bleeding over into the other because I was passing them to a string view, and while string view is not guaranteed to be, so here's some interesting C++, right? I thought that string view had a constructor for deducing, so you can deduce the length of an array if the compiler knows it using some template magic, right? I thought this had a constructor which did that, but it doesn't. It just takes this, right? So fun C++ fact, pass an array to a function, it decays to a pointer. And then this assumes that this is then null terminated, which is wrong. So we need to do a little bit of magic. I think we can basically get rid of this misery and just do a little bit of work on our end, is what I'm trying to say. So let's yank those over to... The only issue with this is that I think we will have to manually list all the resources. The only way we could get this to automatically check all these resources is with code gen, and it's not something I'm interested in doing. Okay, so we've got this. So what I think we want to do is I think we want to treat these not as strings. but as bytes, not as std byte, because I don't think you'll be able to embed that, because std byte is effectively an enum, and then it doesn't like you constructing it from like I'm stuck integral values. So I think we'll treat this as arbitrary data, and then we will cast it to the relevant type in here when we convert it out. So the other fun fact about embed, it is implementation defined, because I went back and looked at this afterwards. It is implementation defined where it searches for your file. Resources is in the same depth as graphics, so this is still relevant. We go up to source, and then we go up to the root, and then we go into assets. So that is a good point. That's fine. So let's focus on strings for now. Embedded resource loader. So what I think we want is we need something from the game. Give me 1 second. Utils. Where was it? Okay. Here's another fun bit of C++ for you. What I want, right? Okay, let me start writing out what I want, and then I'll tell you why it's not going to work for me, or at least it's not as optimal as it could be. Okay, so I want a hash table, right? What I want is something like map std string to const uint 80. Here's use pointers for you. Lookup, right? Include the student. Okay, cool. We're going to need a ctor for us now. Okay. Okay. These should be an anonymous namespace. Sorry, I don't want to pollute. Don't want to pollute anything. Okay, fine. Bish bash bosh. So I want to do something like look up assets. Sorry, no. Shaders simple.vert equals sample frame shader. Carl T with the super chat. Happy New Year and congratulations on the 100k. Thank you very much, Carl. That is Carl from the video, by the way, just in case anyone was wondering. Well, Carl from the thank you from the video. I don't think he was, not to his knowledge, he was actually in it. So I want to do something like this, and then basically when we do load string, right, we basically say const auto resource equals std range lookup dot find name, and then bring in some error handling. Utils error, and then I'm going to keep the contract narrow, so I want to say I'm going to expect but not ensure that resource doesn't equal std ranges send of lookup, otherwise that resource does not exist name, and then I don't know, something like return whatever, return something to do with the resource, right? We're not quite there yet. So that's basically what I want to do, and then we'll basically pull this out and stick this. We'll write some template code in a minute to pull this out and stick this into a std string. subscribed. Thank you very much. Got there in the end. Okay, so the issue we have here is that there is a hidden, because it's C++ and things are complicated and miserable, there is a, this will be 26, there is a hidden performance penalty here, which is a little bit of a shame, but let me talk you through it. We have an unordered map, right? Let me get up the... So this is introduced in C++ 11. This is the hash table implementation of C++, right? Or the standardized one. This is templated on a, ignore all this crap. It's templated on a key and a T, okay? The key being the thing you look up and T being the thing that you store. So far, so good. Now, what I have here in my interface, my public interface that I share with the world or myself, because I'm the only one who's consuming the code, is a string view, okay, which I think is correct. This is a non-owning operation. I just want access. I want to pass in some characters without worrying about copying or ownership or anything like that. That I think is a reasonably sensible API decision. Okay, I want to look up in this map with the string view. Now, let's go find find. Now, with C++, ignore all this context for crap, right? With C++ 11, right? Note that the find takes a type of key, okay? Now, which makes sense, right? I want to look up the thing based on the key that the thing is hashed on, right? Now, the issue we have here is that shit, what have I done? Get that back. Okay, I don't actually know how to use a computer. Now, the issue we have here is that string view is not of type key, it's of a separate type. But there is an implicit cast between the two, right? You can construct a string from a string view. So prior to some future version, okay, when this was introduced, this would actually allocate a string from this value, right? So every time you did a find, it would incur effectively a dynamic allocation, ignoring small string optimization and all that, right? So it does an implicit conversion, right, which may introduce a dynamic allocation, right? Obviously, we're ignoring SSO for now, but there is still, it still kind of somewhat violates the C++ principle of you only pay for what you use, right? Because you are now getting something that you have not kind of asked for. So what they did in C++ 20 is they added a templated overload, right, which effectively allows you to pass in any type, and then internally in this implementation, it will check that k is equality comparable to key, of which a string view and a string are, right? You can use the double equals on those on either side of the double equal sign, and it will just do a strcomp or something under the hood. Okay, right. So the problem we have now is that this now violates another C++ core tenet, is that you don't break backwards compatibility, because this now does something in 20. This would now do something different, right, to this. So you have to, if you want this, you have to opt into it, okay, which means for what that transpires as is you have to then write your own hash function with this magical rune drawn into the sand, okay, and then provide the overload operators for everything that you want, blah, 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 because you have to hash it rather than just doing a straight equality operator, blah, 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 blah. So I did this in the previous project. This is all the runes you need to make this efficient, and this is called heterogeneous lookup or heterogeneous operations, the idea being that it doesn't matter exactly the type you have as long as they are comparable for some given definition of comparable. Okay, anyway, I'm sure that's a short there somewhere. I'll press the button, but that's the long and the short of it. But basically, I have this alias called string map, which does all the setup for me. So now what I can actually do is get rid of that and do hash include, whereas the namespace is wrong. So I will change that in a minute. Utils string map, and then this just becomes string map like that on the type, because it's the oh, what's going on? Have I broken Vim? Nope. Okay. Because this assumes the first template argument is already set for you. Why is it so slow? It's boring. Okay, so that should work for us now. Why is that? So yes, you should be careful with strings, right? I think Harand is fond of the phrase string churn. Yeah, of course. And this is not for necessarily the hot path, but I still think it's kind of Clang D quit and died. Let's just restart this. I still think it's worth going through, right? I still think it's an important part of modern C++ is to be aware of heterogeneous lookup. Okay, so fine. So now we can go back to embedded. I suspect ClangD is a bit grumpy with this because GCC supports it, which is what I'm compiling with, but the LSP and all this error checking is going through ClangD, and I don't think that yet supports it. Anyway, bit of a whirlwind tour there. So what we can do now. I mean, OPSEC 2057 without... There's not enough information there for me really to have any input, I'm afraid. I mean, prior to C++ 03, GCC had cow strings, I think. Because wasn't that one of the big issues where they changed the standard and all of a sudden you couldn't meet the standard with cow, and then there was a massive ABI break. C++ 11, okay. Yes, I guess that does make sense. Okay, fine. So half an hour in of the quick thing that I wanted to do. Hello. Glad you're here. Keeping up with the standard, a standard only comes out every 3 years, right? So I just go to the C++ compiler support page, look at what's coming up, look what compiler has it, and start having to play around. So to return this, we're basically going to need a template stirred size tn. Include c stirred def. I know, I want something to view, but that's not really, to container. Hate that. If you want to pass in an array and deduce the size, there's some miserable syntax you need. I'm just trying to remember it now. So this will allow you to pass in an array and not have it decay, and will deduce the array size for you as well. So I should be able to do something like const auto pointer equals reinterpret cast, right? Const char star r, and then return t pointer plus n, right? So then that should allow us to do return to container stud string resource second. Yeah. So I am using stud byte everywhere else. However, for here, I do not believe I can use embed with stud byte because stud byte is an enum and I can't. We can try it, but I don't think I can construct it from integral constants without basically having to cast each one. Everything else we're using byte. So I should be able to just get rid of all this guff now. Right, because those will just embed those in there and I can deduce the size because these are compile time string, these are compile time arrays. Well, it could be for string or for what I call data buffer. So data buffer is in fact just a vector of bytes, right? And the data buffer is a span of those bytes. So why is it not like to container? What have I done? Oh, hang on. Oh, interesting. That's not going to work for me, is it? Because I'm going to need the... It will force the decay because I've gone via this to turn into a pointer. Ooh, interesting. I hadn't considered that. I thought that was just going to work. Could have a massive if-else chain. It's not great, but it would be fast. Oh, span. Now there's an idea. Uint. Yes. Okay. I think I might like that. That might just work, and then this, get rid of all this nonsense. Have stud span constant uint 8t data dot data. Oh, there it is. And then data dot size bytes. No. Size. It shouldn't matter because they're both the same, but it is the number of elements I want. Yeah, it's Code with ligatures from the nerd font, whatever it is. Okay, so that should work, and then we should be able to just basically, I don't like copy and pasting code, but this should be about as good as it's going to get. If we wanted it as a data buffer, there's no reason you shouldn't be able to have one over the other. This should then become data buffer. That's not going to work now because pointer, it won't be able to, the underlying type is no longer const char star. That's assuming that. So what we should be able to do is do t value type. Stud string and stud vector should both expose the same member. Here's value type. Why is that not? Oh, because it should be pointer. And you point on that as const. There you go. It's because I dropped the pointer when I was doing span, so I was like, oh, I obviously need to drop it here, but that doesn't make any sense. That should work. I mean, I probably could have just written those 2 lines here, but like, when am I going to pass up an excuse to write a template? Okay, so that should now allow us to get these out. So then it's a little bit mechanical in the sense that I have to then add, I do have to add everything I want here, but I don't think it's too bad. I mean, it wasn't necessarily, it was wrong when I expanded to different T's, right? You're right, it was wrong. It wasn't generic, but like in isolation, it would have been fine. Let's check that still runs. Not that we've integrated it yet. Is it dangerous? The size of value type isn't 1. Yes, but we are, because we're talking only about bytes here, we should, you know. There you go, don't worry about it now. Ugh, grammar ambiguities. I don't really do roadmaps. I think it's different for everyone. Also, I don't work in it professionally, so it's my pathway and experience is very much different to everyone else's. I think crack me's, war games, CTFs, writing your own code, seeing how it becomes assembly, reversing it, like kind of trying to work backwards. I think it sounds like you're already on the right path. Sorry, that's a bit of a flippant answer, but I'm not really in the business of producing like roadmaps. Okay, so let's do main. Let's bring in memory. And now we hash include resources, embedded resource loader. We will have to now bring in. Oh, actually, let's just bring in these resources then, and then see. Because what I want to do is, where do I create the resource loader here? I want to actually do auto resource loader equals stirred make unique. What do I do? I actually might not want auto in this case, because I think I want to do stirred unique pointer. I want the type to be resource loader, but I want to make unique FPS embedded resource loader. All right, because I want the polymorphism. So that will obviously fail with an exception because none of those would exist. I think that's the only ones we do so far. And then I'm a software engineer by trade, so sort of I've been professionally doing C++ for about a decade, but I do sort of a mixture of other things now. I tend to do more, I guess, like teaching and mentoring, and I've ran our graduate program and internship program and stuff like that. The shaders and renderer work. So yeah, I'm gonna bring kind of everything over. I think in one swift movement. So I want const expra const stirred uint 8t. Let's see what we've got. We've got diamond floor albedo equals embed assets. Well, that's nice. Get a little Vim complete there. That's nice. Like that. Oh, 44 minutes in, I'm nowhere near. I was. I think very much in my hubris today. Thought I was going to get on to what I wanted to get on. Congratulations. I wish you all the best. Diamond floor. So then albedo becomes normal, specular, and then this. I think we can probably just do this as one line. Vert sample vertex shader RT simple dot fragment shader and then textures slash diamond floor specular dot ping, and then diamond floor. Why did I do specular first? What is wrong with me? Albedo, normal. Okay. Yeah, we got it working just. So this should work, right? With the power of polymorphism. Egg on my face. Diamond for albedo texture does not exist. Backslashes. Oh, what a nightmare. Oh, what do I do? Do I want to be consistent? I think I'm going to have to choose consistency over form here, because this is going to break the idea. I have to be able to just dynamically switch between the two of them. Yes, it will. It is a first-person shooter. Well, it will be a first-person shooter. There's currently no. It's first-person, but there's no pew 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 yet. Okay, nailed it. So now what I should be able to do is now go to the renderer, which include resources, resource loader. I should be able to construct this now with a... No, not const. I don't want to be overly restrictive. Resource loader, right? Okay, so that should work. And then renderer, get rid of all this chuff. Gonna go, don't need that, don't need that. I sure do need that. I don't need point light as well, so I don't know what that's chat about. Resources, resources that, and then this becomes a resource loader reference. So I can pass in polymorphic entities, objects, whatever your word choice is, via reference. Unused parameter. Yes. You are tenacious. Resource loader. Resource. Oop, missed the reference. But don't be taking that. Well, not that I can take it by value. It's going to want as a string view, but I think resource loader dot load string. Shaders // simple vertex, no, simple dot vert, simple vert. Resource loader dot load string shaders bang, simple dot frag question mark. I don't think I need a spanner const Charles here. I think this is fine. And then this one needs to pass this through here. Just tramp that data all the way down. Okay, that'll work. Oh, hang on. Of course. Lol. Renderer. I should be able to stick in there the resource loader. Smart unique pointer. Dereference that. Capture as a reference. Tramp it around. Bish bash bosh. Nice. Nailed it. We be resource loading. So I think that's really nice now, because that means when I ship it, when I package this up and release it, all the assets will be embedded. I guess they'll always be embedded unless you don't remove that translation unit. So that will be something that we'll have to consider in the future, is that where that's in there. I was going to have a command line flag which basically allowed you to toggle between loading from the file and loading from embedded, but what I'll do is I want to see what the compile time impact is of iterating it through embedding. If it doesn't take that much long to rebuild the translation unit and relink it, then there's no need to actually ever load anything from the file system, unless we're rapidly creating new files and don't want to keep updating it. I think for now that's kind of okay. So let's just quickly add embedded resource loader, because now I want to do some shader work. Okay, so that should be add string map, load shaders from don't know why that's capitalized. Load shaders from resource loader. Integrate change it. Lazy commit message. The laziest commit message. Okay, that works. What I want to do now is basically get rid of this hot mess. So we're going to need to create a texture manager. Everyone's favorite class name, something manager. Let me quickly fix that then. Oh yeah, you're right. No, thank you. Forward means you render every fragment gets rendered for every light. You have to apply each light to every entity. So the lighting operations you're doing is m times n, where m is the number of entities and n is the number of lights, so it doesn't really scale. Also, you get a huge amount of overdraw. You're effectively lighting all the pixels in the background, even though something is going to be over the front of them. Deferred is a way of separating it kind of out to doing, you accumulate all the vertex, like color and position and normal data, and then you do once, so then you're just left with a couple of frame buffers with all that data, and then you do the lighting operation afterwards, which means you don't get any overdraw, and I think your calculations become m plus n, and there's some additional optimizations you can do on top of that using things called light volumes. Yes, it should be committed first, but I missed that, and I cannot want to go and rebase it. Okay, so texture manager is going to be interesting because it's going to be material manager is kind of wrong at the moment. In the sense that it uses the triple buffering, coherent, persistently mapped, blah, 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 where it really don't think it needs to. Basically, so the issue at the... What's the best way of explaining this? Let me get up the... Okay, so at the moment, okay, traditional OpenGL, so OpenGL sort of traditional OpenGL, you have effectively texture slots, right? So you have to do this thing called binding. You basically say, all right, texture slot 0 is going to be this texture, but texture 2 is going to be this texture, and you can have to do that on each. Pass through, on each render pass, right? So every time you want to go to render everything, you have to set up all these texture slots, which incurs a certain amount of overhead. There's a certain amount of driver overhead, there's a certain amount of error handling and checking and stuff that OpenGL does for you. It's not necessarily the most efficient. The idea with bindless textures is you kind of free yourself from doing that binding, and you just have all these textures that kind of exist on the graphics card, and you index into them at a super high level. So we've done the machinery of bindless, but we haven't kind of built that massive array. What we want is one massive array of textures, and then all we have, whenever we want to access one of those textures, we just pass an integer, like an index, into the shader, and then it will go and grab that texture out. Yeah, I've sort of not really dived too much into Unreal stuff. I mean, never say never, but it's not on the horizon at the moment. Pressed it. Don't worry, I pressed it. But thank you. Anyway, so what I need to do is I need to gut this and basically create what's called an SSBO, something shader buffer object shared. Say shader buffer object. Anyway, a big ass buffer that I can write to from the CPU, and it appears on the GPU, and then we're just going to pass in some indices. So there's quite a lot of... I was kind of hoping we'd already done this by now at this point in the stream, but here we are. Shader storage buffer object. Thank you. It was close. Okay, so let's start doing that. So what I'm going to need is textures, and then I'm going to want, I think I still want the sampler 2D, right? And then have an unbounded array. I think Vulkan is both more verbose and it's definitely more complex because you have to do so much more yourself, right? I've only dabbled, and I'm much further. I can guarantee you that I'm much further in this project using OpenGL than I would be if I was using Vulkan. Also, I don't need the performance it gives, right? I'm not making a AAA game. I don't need to squeeze every cycle out. I think using pretty much like the latest, which is still quite old, like OpenGL 4.6, will give us enough rendering like power to achieve what I want to achieve. Like, if you want to move, I would say learn both, right? Like, if you learn, there's kind of two parts to the question. One, if you want to keep up with the language, you should be learning as much modern stuff as you can. But also, you kind of want to be learning what you're going to be applying. If you're in like a business context, if your company is stuck on C++17, you very much want to master C++17. But I would recommend, C++20 changes the language quite a lot in very good ways. So I definitely recommend looking at that. Okay, so then I think the object data, right? No, the material data. So I'm going to want to get rid of color. I'm going to leave that in there for now because that's the next change. But then I think I'm just going to want something like, is it uint albedo index, right? Normal index, and then specular index, right? So all I then have to do for each material, okay, I just have to give it 3 numbers, and those will index into this, and that's it. Like, there's obviously some mechanics around there about making sure that the indices remain fixed, because if I want to be able to remove a texture, then that means potentially all the indices are going to change. So we kind of have to come up with that on the CPU side in a second. Will we need padding at the end of those uints? Oh, what a great question. Harand, I'm going to defer to you. Do these need to be 16-byte padded? I stopped doing the de novo work once I got to the point I wanted to, which was past the initial checks. I didn't keep going to grind out the full game. There was diminishing returns to myself at that point. I mean, it's layout 430, right? But we've had some issues with this before. They're all scalars. But didn't... But I had to... Fuck it, see what happens. Do it live. Because OpenGL is funny about padding, and certain layouts do require certain alignment between elements. Ah, yes, thank you. We had 16 pad the address. Okay, fine. It was the address that was the issue. Fine. Okay, that should be fine then, because if I not added. So that won't be 16-byte aligned, though, will it? I'll need to add like that. The address of an SPSBO. The address on the CPU side, you mean? Because I have no control of the address on the GPU side. Let's leave it and we'll see what happens. Let me just fix up this showcase. It's nice having syntax highlighting again, though. That is nice. No, I have no time. I have no time. It's more of just a hope and a dream. So wherever I have text now becomes where's this? Actually, I don't use this anymore. There you go. I suppose I should. Oh, I passed this in material index. Okay, fine. So this is going to be this is going to be gross. So I want to do material in material index dot. Actually, I'm going to pull this out. I think uint albedo text index equals material in material index dot albedo index, and then here should be textures albedo text index. All right. I think that's what I need. I think I did put something in NeoVim to accept like an LSP or something in the syntax highlight stuff. I honestly can't remember. Normal specular. Normal specular. Okay. And then textures, normal text index. And then this then becomes up here. Textures. Specular text index. Code is slowly sliding off the side there. There's no format file for this, so it's just going to keep on getting longer. I think it's what I want. I mean, obviously it's not going to work. It's not wired any of it up yet. So do I want to support removing textures? Or do you just load them all at the beginning and hope for the best? Because if you remove them, that implies that we will have to hand out handles and then have the concept of a texture manager being able to, and then basically have some sort of concept of a dirty state where we then need to, if you remove a texture, you will have to rebuild all the material data. Yeah, we might. I'm tempted to keep it simple. I'm tempted to go back and remove this because we can remove materials at the moment as well. I'm tempted to go back and remove that and just simplify that. Yeah. I'm tempted just to keep it simple. Yeah, okay, let's keep it simple then. So let's say source graphics texture manager .h. Yeah, okay, once you load the texture, it is there until the heat death of the universe. That's fine. Like I said, there's no point doing extra work. I want to go back through and simplify all the managers and all the buffer use. I think that could be a good stream at some point, is just to revisit all that. I've made some mistakes, tidy everything up. Okay, fine. So this is basically just going to own the underlying GPU buffer and support thanks. Okay, good to know. So we're going to need hash include graphics. Also, we don't need to triple buffer this, right? Because it's not going to be changing that often. We'll force a full sync if we do update it as well. So we're going to have buffer GPU buffer, and then we'll have what do we need to pass in? We just need to pass in the bindless handle, right? Is that right? Is that all we? What do we? Oh, sorry, I'm kind of I'm trying to puzzle my way through this. The one. So what is native? What is native handle on a texture? It's the bindless handle. Okay, and that is just a uint 64, right? Or gluint 64. Okay, so that's actually even easier because then I just have to maintain a vector of those, right? So let's do hash include graphics OpenGL and then stood vector of gluint 64 CPU buffer. Right, so that's effectively what this manager is going to handle, right? So this manager is effectively going to own the GPU buffer and the CPU buffer and the synchronization between the two. Bonza. Now, the other question is, does the texture manager own the underlying texture objects? So here's an interesting point, right? We go to main. We create here textures, right? Yeah, so what I'm saying is, should the texture manager also own those textures? I think so, because if that goes out of scope, then that means it would invalidate the uint64. and we don't want things to get out of scope. We want them to remain resident. So I think actually this changes slightly again. Sorry, you can quite the organic process this. I think this owns texture. Is that going to work with my helper functions though? I may need actually, to be honest, I think I need both. To be honest, I think it's easier just to track both. Yeah, okay. Because I have some utility code already which will synchronize these two, assuming that the size of this and the value of this is what is in the GPU. Okay. So then we need to be able to add a texture. Yes, I will. It will. Yes, it can. Yes, I'll be using ronges to solve this. So my interface is going to be that auto append add. What's a good? What have I used my other manager classes? Load? Don't like load. I don't want to refactor all this. I hate all this. Add. I guess add is better than nothing. Add. So I'm going to take this by value because I want to force a transfer of ownership. And then the only way is I either construct it in place with a PR. So it means I will have to effectively construct this either with a PR value or an X value, which is what I want. It means it won't exist afterwards. I think this is assuming the texture has already been constructed, right? We could also use some templates here to construct the texture in place, but I think constructing outside and moving it in is kind of okay for now. Ooh, if I could rally the community to get behind and work on one shared project, what would it be? Oh, a great question. What would be a good community project? I'm super jealous of, and not jealous, and inspired by Matt Casey's, was it decomp of Lego Island? I think doing something like that would be fascinating. Something people want, is massively technically complicated, has a huge amount of like scalable, parallelizable work. I think doing like that would be quite cool. Okay, so that, and then we're going to want a auto native handle to a GL uint hash include graphics OpenGL const. Okay, I think that's what's in buffer. GL uint, yeah, pass that through. So that allows us to actually bind it. Native mate. There you go. Is that right? I'm doubting myself now. Okay, I think that's basically all we need. So this will set up the initial buffers. This will transfer ownership over to the textures and update the CPU buffer, and then cause a sync if necessary with a stall if required, and then native handle will return the native handle. There you go. I knew it looked wrong. I just do it for the engagement because everyone writes loads of comments and then that boosts my back-end stats. So, we're all just playing into my hand. There is a YouTube strategy where people Zero Karen, hello. There is a YouTube strategy where you deliberately make a mistake because it triggers people, and then they feel compelled to comment to correct you. I can 100% assure that all my mistakes are fully unintentional. I just don't know what I'm doing. Oh god, another typo. Look at that. Been a long day. That resort, that excuse is going to start wearing real thin, I imagine, soon, if it's not already. But they're all long days. Fusion into the press 1 if into interesting. Okay. Noted. So GPU buffer, I need to pass it a size and a name. So this will be size of GLU int 64T, and then the name will be texture. Actually, bineless array. Get an actually more meaningful name. CPU buffer will be that, and then textures will be that. And then let's grab these three, whack these over here, bish bash bosh. Not at all. Texture manager. Okay, fine. So this is just going to return GPU buffer dot native handle. Okay, that's easy pass through. So the first thing this is going to do is do. You know what? I might not even need ranges. Isn't that sad? Auto new text equals textures dot in place back. I don't actually need in place back here. I would normally use pushback, but I will in place back returns a reference to the thing it just pushed in, which is nice, or in placed in, which is nice, and pushback doesn't because the backwards compatibility. Bineless textures, yeah. Go on then. I'll treat you. Hello, hello, hello. Need more content like the recent video. I don't know if I've got the mental fortitude to do any more like that. That was 3 months worth of work. I'm not saying it definitely ruined my Christmas, but like I was definitely thinking about it pretty hard. Okay, so now I can do CPU buffer dot pushback new text dot native handle. Right. If I was taking an array of text, do I want to take a vector of textures? Yeah, hang on, because isn't there some... Hang on. Yeah, hang on, let's have a look. So I think auto add constant vector textures. That might be nicer, right? No one hurt me. Just like doing difficult, interesting things. Okay, let's finish off this implementation first before I just sort of get stuck on a side quest. Man, we are. I don't know if we're going to get to any deferred rendering today, so the title may have been a lie, but prepare for part 2. Christ. Okay, what am I doing? So I put that there, and then I've got some sort of util magic. What am I doing? Bring all these in. Include graphics utils. I think I have resize GPU buffer, all right? And then I give this the CPU buffer. And then I give that the GPU buffer, and then I give it the name of the buffer in case I need to rebuild it. I think that just resizes it, right? I don't think that does the copying. Oh, man, I'm trying to remember the code you wrote even a few weeks ago. Where's that when it's at home? Oh, it's in the header file because it's template. Ugh, what a fool. What an absolute fool. Made myself look like a right mug. Okay, here we go. Resize GPU buffer. So this will check the current size of the CPU buffer that you passed it. It will then see if there is enough GPU buffer size available. If not, it will employ an exponential growth strategy to keep doubling until it can fit it in. It then does a barrier in case something might be using it, and it gives you a new buffer because this is a reference, so effectively oversigns a new it. So this then just means I didn't need to do, regardless of whether it's resized or not, I need to rewrite all the data to it. Again, for efficiency, you could just write the delta, but this isn't going to happen very often. It shouldn't be happening in the hot path. It is syntactically simpler, I think, just to squirt all those textures, all the existing texture data right into the GPU hole. The benefit of vector reference over span. So span is non-owning. And it's kind of, span is abstracted away from the underlying container. So if I have a vector, I always have to pass a vector. If I have a span, I could pass in a vector or an array or a C-style array or anything else that conforms to the concept of a span. But in this case, I definitely want a vector. I think I definitely want a vector because I'm going to be transferring ownership. And can you move elements in from a span? I don't know, that sounds complicated. Like, I think it's easier just to be explicit. Normally I would prefer span. In this case, I think I want to model ownership because I'm modeling a transfer of ownership. Yes, it's true. Correct. Yeah, but I mean, I'm still gonna have to copy all the data anyway each time. But yeah, it's kind of is the optimization. Okay, so now I should be able to do my potentially new resize write stood as by. I really need to add a. Do I just add this now? The span of constgl. Hang on, give me a second while I remember the runes. CPU buffer dot data. CPU buffer dot. Actually, I think I can. Can I? I think it'll construct it from an iterator, right? Yeah, hang on. What? it might not like. It might not like this. Let me just see if it's CPU buffer dot data. It might want. Would it want it as pointers? I've definitely done this somewhere. There you go. What did I do here? Okay, fine. So I use ctad to not put the template argument here. That makes sense. And then I just use data and, interesting, just size. As bytes, as bytes. Oh, been stupid as usual. All right. Oh, it's close. Hi, Lucas. Hello. So as bytes should deduce the template argument, that's fine. Instead, span should deduce the template arguments, that's fine. Oh, hang on. It's because I've introduced another layer in direction of my constructor. There. Oh, so close. So close. That closes that. That closes that. That closes that. I've definitely got too many. I've got too many brackets. So that closes that. That closes that, and then that closes that. What do you mean? What do you mean you expected another? Oh, hang on. I know why. There you go. Nailed it. Whew. That was easy. Not again. Maybe not exempt. I don't know. Is that exemplary of like good modern C++? It's reasonably intuitive, I think. Tough to say. It's less code than the alternative. Whether it's more readable or not is, I guess, in the eye of the beholder. Okay, fine. So we take the texture, we slap it into our textures vector. We then append the native handle. We do any GPU buffer resizing necessary, and then we resync all the data. Right now, I basically Rand is biting his tongue at this horror. Okay, let's do something fun. Can I? Because texture should be. It's a move only type. So can I do textures dot append range textures? I'm just finishing off the binders texture stuff. I mean, to learn C++ like this, you just gotta. I mean, I've been writing C++ for over a decade, right? You just got to write a lot of C++. I strongly suspect it's not compiled that function because it knows it's not needed. Let's just integrate this super quick. I desperate for start lifetime as because it defines a huge amount of undefined behavior people rely on. I just don't think anyone's implemented it yet. ? Last time I looked, no one had. Especially when it comes to like networking code. Like I want was once upon a time going to be called stud bless, and I think I understand why, but I think it's a bit of a shame not to call it. But I do want start lifetime as. Someone can answer that for you. That's the setup question. There's a way of me kind of gaming the engagement. There is definitely a Nightbot command you can run, or someone will run for you. So what I'm thinking is something like auto texture manager equals oops texture manager. Okay. And then what I want to do is do texture manager dot add, right? An initializer list which should bind to the stud vector, and then let's make these non-constos. Do stud move diamond so many diamond floor albedo, diamond floor normal, stud move does not work like that. Diamond floor normal date, nope, normal, diamond floor normal texture, stud move, diamond floor specular texture. Right, that's what I want. That's the interface I want. Whether you like it or not, whether you think that's good or not, that's the end goal. Single player. How do I pronounce CRTP? I'm not sure. Okay, so this won't work because I think this needs to effectively model ownership, right? So I think this, again, for the same reason above, this needs to be initialized from PR value or an X value. And then we're going to texture manager, and then we're going to do, this might then actually allow me to construct, come off it. If it copies it, inserts copies, gosh darn it, I bet there's no move range. Insert range, I assume that just gives it a copy. Rubbish, okay. Yeah, it will reroute, but like it's not going to happen very often. So it's I'm focusing on simplicity over optimizing something that is not in the hot path. You should not be in the main render loop adding loads of textures. You'll do it before. So I'm kind of happy for the code to be slightly less efficient. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to use move iterator with insert, which is a bit of a shame. I was really hoping I could do that. Okay, fine. So let's do, what am I going to do? Let's go. I think yeah, it's make move iterator, isn't it? So I think I want to do, yeah, you're right. Textures dot, it's gonna be gross. This is like the gross side of C++. Insert stud ranges cend. Ooh, can it be constant? Should we find out? Stud make move iterator, stud ranges begin textures, stud make move iterator, stud ranges end textures. That is pretty old C++ that. I'm not a big fan of that. Yeah, I was just about to look through views to see if there was something that might help. I was wondering, is there something R value related? There's add what's this? As R value view. So could I, because, ooh, steady. Third views. Hang on, let's bring in Ronges. As R value. Textures. Oh. A move iterator allows you to move from the iterator, right, rather than copying it. So operations on it will do effectively a transfer of ownership. So it basically allows you to, rather than copying something between 2 points, move that block across. Yeah. So yes. So this will pass by value, which means I need to pass something in. So the point you're trying to make is this not going to copy it. This won't, because because texture is non-copyable. This will force me to pass in something that I am effectively transferring ownership away from. It will force me to construct this from an R value, right? So it'll either be a PR value like this, right? Oh, it doesn't like this now. What's this? Gosh darn it. I'm surprised that doesn't like it. It might just need stood vector there. Anyway, or an X value where I stood move something in. But either way, the semantic intention is that I'll be passing something into here by value, and only in such a way that I no longer use it afterwards. You only stood forward if you're using, by and large, you only stood forward if you are using forwarding references. So you have a templated type with an R value reference. It's not technically an R value reference in that case, it's what's called a forwarding reference. And stood forward preserves the value category of the thing that you're forwarding. So if you pass in an L value, it will preserve as an L value. If you pass in an R value, it will preserve as an R value. I'm kind of curious why it doesn't like this. Let's have a look at what the miserable compiler error is going to be for this. Construct at. So it normally means that implies I can't construct something, obviously. So it's trying to use the initialize list to try to expect. Oh, isn't it because initialize a list is copyable? It's the same. It's exactly the same. It's so annoying. It's the exact same reason you cannot create a stood vector of unique pointers in line like this. So I'm going to have to use it by the X value. So I'm going to have to do textures, I guess, stood vector. It's so annoying. One of the things I really hate about the language. Textures dot pushback. To be honest, actually, what we could just do is have that here and then have this be textures dot pushback, because this is now a PR value, right? Yeah, that'll work. That'll work. Can feel maybe a slight smug grin from Harand at the misery I now have to go through to make my beautiful interface work. But now I can just again stood. So I can't just copy this in by value, right? This will not work, right? It won't let me do it, but I should be able to move it in now. Yeah, there we go. If I use the round parens, though, I won't be able to. I'll have to match one of the constructors, right? Which is like whatever they are, iterator construction or anything. The only way you can pass in a series of values is if you create or match the initializer list, which you do with the curly braces, because curly brace auto deduces to initialize list, but initialize list is copyable, which is annoying. Okay, right. So that should work now. It's kind of a little bit messy, but it's not too bad because it just means we build up this array as we go along. I would rather do it all in one line and make it const. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do? I mean, it is what it is, right? You can't. Can't change it. You can only do what you can do with the tools that you've got in the time that you have, right? Okay, so let's go over to texture manager. No. It may build, but it won't run because I've not finished integrating the array. Blah. Oh, of course, those don't exist anymore. That's fine. Okay, right. So this is largely now. Does append range give me some indication of what was there before? Oh, how lame! I want it to return me like an iterator of like lame. Okay. Because what I need to do now is I need to still update the CPU buffer with the new objects, right? No, texture is quite is not necessarily a heavy object, but it's the abstraction over the OpenGL buffer, right? So it's got these two bits of data and it has a string as well. So it's not a small object, but it's unique ownership, right? It models, it abstracts away over the OpenGL handle, which that means it can't be copyable, right? There is a handle to some GPU gubbins, and this class owns that and abstracts that. Yeah, I guess you're right. Like, why don't we just recreate it? There's literally no need to not, right? Because it's not used anywhere else. That's good. I like that. What a good. That makes things nice and simple, and also allows me to use ranges. So after we've appended the range, we should be able to do CPU buffer equals textures dot stud views transform auto e return e dot native handle stud ranges to stud vector. Nah, nice. And then we just check when needs resizing and copy the data over. Bish bash bosh. Now that's some modern C++ for you. Why would I don't want to loop, right? I'm not here to write loops. I'm going to use someone else's loop. Well, I'm using my own, my own custom logging code, which under the hood does boil down to a format and a println. So yeah, sure. And then I think in my, yeah. Okay, so yeah, I'm not writing loops though. I've not written a loop. Always use someone else's loop. Always use someone else, because loops are complex and have, like, you got to keep track of your mind. Whereas I much rather be declarative, like add this range of things, produce this vector of things, resize this. I think that's a lot nicer. I mean, there's a multitude of ways you can do this. I mean, largely my abstraction keeps all the OpenGL stuff quite low as well. So we have textures, shaders, we have textures, shaders, meshes, objects, and they expose a sensible-ish interface for you to use, and then under the hood, that just becomes OpenGL context. There's obviously like an escape hatch, like native handle, which gives you the gubbins out, but what are you gonna do? I've no plan to add event tracing, but we'll see. Okay, so that ostensibly works. So now we need to go back to scene, because now scene's going to have a reference to the texture manager. We get rid of this, 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 and then we're going to texture manager, texture manager. Main, and this goes, and then dot texture manager equals, stick that in there. Okay, really cramming stuff in that scene object. They probably could have a manager's struct, but what are you gonna do? So I mean, again, where did I learn this? Question on Twitch. Where did I learn this? I've been doing C++ professionally for about a decade, so I learned a lot of it through that. I've never worked in the graphics industry or the games industry. All the OpenGL gubbins I've either picked up out of projects I've written before in the past, or I'm literally just picking up live as I go along and figuring it out. Okay, so that's good, question mark. So all this horror goes away. Whatever GL program uniform handle UI64 arb, throw that into the sea. I think now I just... Oh, hang on. I've got to remind me. I need to rebuild. Don't remind me right now. Don't be pithy. I do need to make sure I rebuild the material data though. So this should be scene.textureManager.native handle. This buffer right needs a template argument which allows you to take a span of other things and does this. There's literally this. Maybe we'll do that at the end if we have time. Programming is programming. Like languages are tools. If you enjoy problem solving, the language shouldn't really make too much difference. I can understand why people like certain languages, and certain problems lend themselves to using certain languages, but if you like programming, you should be able to find like challenging and interesting in most industries. Right, no one's reminded me. I've got to fix the materials now. Where do I do that? I think the actual material... Do I have a material type? Material data. What's that when it's at home? It's too little too late. I'm going to move the color eventually over to the entity, because I think material should just be stuff that you want to copy or duplicate lots of times. Like there might be lots of entities that have the same bundle of textures, but you might want to individually tint them, so color will eventually become part of entity. Of course, I've actually, because software is hard, texture. Oh, you know what I've done though? I've constructed this beautifully modern, simple modern C++ code for managing textures and syncing GPU buffers and all that in very few lines of code. I've provided no way of actually querying what the index of anything is after I've added it. I mean, how is one to know? I think what I need to do is, it's fine. We just expand the we should probably all agree that we're never going to have more than 4 billion textures and just use uint32t. Even though technically the index return value of even though indexes and vectors are size t. Yeah, I mean it's fine, but like I still given a. So the alternative is something like auto. No, I can't even do auto, like index texture, right? Because I've transferred ownership in. Like the texture doesn't exist anymore. But I want to make sure it synchronizes to the GPU side, and on the and in the shader we use uint, which is most likely going to be a 32-bit integer. So I do need to be a little bit careful what I say there. So I mean, there's no point in returning a handle. Like I might as well return an index, right? And this could be, which just means we can write some more ranges. Third uint 32t. I mean, there's two choices here, right? Right, I could either return the index of the first one I've added, and then you can extrapolate from there based on the size of the things you passed in, or I could return a vector of indices, which is just going to be n plus 1, n plus 2, n plus 3. I'm not really sure if there's any advantage to either of those, because it's still busy work on the other end. I could just keep it simple. I might just keep it simple. But so you get each of those functions will return an the index of the first thing you just added, right? In this case, there's only one thing you added. In this case, there'll be multiple things, but you get that. Well, it does matter because it's API design, right? And API design is the fun bit, so I want to make sure I get it right. Everything else is just typing on a keyboard. Yeah, when we make this multi-threaded, like we're gonna have it's gonna be a real fun time. I plan to make this multi-threaded, yes. I have quite a lot of thoughts on it. I need to get those thoughts in order, and I want to get the renderer done first, and then have a think about how it's going to work. Arguably, I should have made it multi-threaded from the start, but gotta have something visual to create YouTube community posts on. Yeah, busy stream, which is good. I think for now we'll keep it simple, right? And then I don't think I would ever let it interleaved. I think if I was to make it multi-threaded, I would just take a lock and add that whole vector in one go. I think the bookkeeping of doing it interleaved sounds like a nightmare. Again, especially for an operation that is not supposed to be run on the hot path. So I think this will always be fine. So const auto new index will be textures dot size. I think that's right, because if there was one element in there, this will be 1, and then I'll add another 1 and 2, but the index of the second one will be 1. So OpenGL is single threaded, but with MDI, right, building the command buffer can be done across multiple threads. So that is one way that we could possibly do this, is if we have loads of buffers, if we have a massive buffer to build and each of the elements, I don't know, maybe needs to go through a cull or something like that, we could potentially build this across multiple threads or have multiple threads submitting entities. And then it's just going to probably scatter gather after that. So anything we can decompose down into multiple steps. So like mesh skinning, maybe even physics updates. I need this sort of concept of like timers and repeat jobs and stuff like that. So there's quite a lot of stuff that I think this will work for. I mean, I'm almost certainly. So yes, we want MPSC. I imagine I'll probably just start off with a simple concurrent queue that I hand roll using mutexes and condition variables and stuff like that, and then maybe experiment with some lock-free stuff. But I'm going to keep it simple to start with. I don't know. I don't know either, but like it seems a shame to not make use of multiple threads if we have them. So, and it's something I want to experiment. And we have to remember, like a large part of this project is an excuse for me to play around with new ideas and new C++ features and new design features and new architectures. So the last game we did was all single threaded. So I do want to experiment with multi-threading, even if it's a total disaster. This is a chance for me to make that mistake live in front of like 300 people, which will be exciting. In this, yeah. Yeah, exactly, yeah. Like I suspect the usage of multi-threading will not be focused around the renderer and will be more likely around processing game state and, like I said, like GPU skinning, and animation handling and stuff like that. Yeah, there's obviously loads of stuff you can do. Like again, we're not there yet. I got 2 minutes to write a third renderer. I just want to get this working first. I've completely lost track of where I was now. My brain has gone. What was I doing? Index, right, main, right, okay. So where do we move? Const auto text index that. So then where we create the manager. So this is all users. This someone was asking about stood forward, right? This hit. So when you have a double ref here and it's on a template argument, that's known as a forwarding reference. It means it will become an L value reference if you pass in an L value, or it become an R value reference if you pass in an R value. It's a special kind of, not edge case, it's a special stipulation within the language. And then when we forward it here, that preserves whichever one it was when you pass it through. Okay, so this basically means I can pass in anything here, be it an L value, an R value, and then that gets preserved when it gets emplaced into the whatever this object is, the material data CPU gubbins. So that means I can now just do text index. Why have I got all these materials? Text index. Which one of these do I actually want? I had two scenes, red and green. Oh, I just used blue to test I could delete it, didn't I? The text index plus 1. Text index plus 2. Why is that? That perfectly forwards into material data CPU. That is a material data, which should be a stood units those two color. So why is that not? What did I'm wrong there? I want them named though, rather than a vector. And also, you have to remember that this needs to be what is? Okay, go away. Oh, well, I'm glad that's here to stay. This needs to be what, trivially copyable, because I'm effectively going to copy this from the CPU to the GPU. So I can't have a stood vector in here because then it'll just pass like with guilty knowledge of how vector is implemented, three CPU pointers over. I don't know why that doesn't work. Whistle indeed. Why is it not like this? Why is it not with args color unsigned in, unsigned in, why is this a I mean, that's not the issue, but I guess there would be a reference based on template deduction, but it shouldn't matter. So here's the constructor, here's where I'm emplacing. Flat map constraints not. Why is it not? Why does it like color, but it doesn't like? I've definitely saved it. Shouldn't do, because this is a variadic template, so this should take an arbitrary number of arguments and forward them on, and in place is also a variadic template, so it should expand them all into that. It's the same way stood make unique works. Yeah, I mean, I can make it an explicit. I can add 0u, right? But I don't see why that would make any difference. Unsigned. Map lookup is trying to create a template key from the args. Ooh, interesting. But I mean, I give it the key here, right? Let's look at flat map. Again, I don't need to flat map. This implementation is wrong, but I don't want to change it now. It does take a very number of args. Insert new elements in container constructed in place with the given args. Oh, is it expecting a pair? Yeah, I think it's because it's actually, whilst it, I think this is expecting it to deduce to yes, overload. Initialization of type stood pair. Yeah, okay, fine. Ugh. So what you're going to actually have to do is then explicitly construct the object here. Where am I looking at? So this is going to be a material data. There you go. That should work. There you go. That was annoying. Oh, what have I not? Linker error. Probably helps if I actually build it. Where do I put the other managers? Oh, it's their header only, aren't they? QR. We will sort out the manager and buffer usage at some point. There's absolutely no way this is just going to work. Nailed it. Texture is not resident for this context. Texture is not resident for the context. Interesting. It's trying to. Where's it trying to struct a texture? I'm going to have to write my own move constructor, aren't I? Ugh. So what the issue is that this is in a vector, okay? When the vector grows beyond its capacity, it will allocate internally a new slab of memory and it will move, which is allowed to do, those textures across, okay? Which leaves the texture in a... Yeah, but it's interesting because this should mostly be handled by this, because this will leave this in a valid but unknown state, right? So when it calls the implicit... hang on, what's the actual... I bet it's the... Yeah, it literally, it always calls this, right? This should be if handle. Okay. Only if the handle is still valid should you then try and unbind this. I mean, there's no pointers here, right? I mean, sorry, will of the vector, yeah. Okay, this is shader code now. Fragment shader 55. Make, so I use CMake because that is the build sort of infrastructure that I'm familiar with. Make because it's easier just to drive all the commands from a top-level make file, and Docker because it's reproducible build system. It means I can have GitHub Actions which does the same thing. So that's the reason I use those three. Gross. Hate it. It's actually quite, to embed the resource and make a change and have it re-embed it is actually quite quick. I shouldn't need to make a change where it's called from because it uses this internal name. This name is actually, as far as I'm aware, is never actually referenced. Okay, these just get vomited into the global namespace of the shader. Is it material? See, it should be material. See, look here, it's material data, not materials. OpenGL is weird, and I care not for it. What else are you going to use? Oh, getting closer. Failed to link program. Oh, that's because classic. This now doesn't exist. This has changed in here. this should be here. I probably need to bind this as well. Question mark. Also, has that got the right binding in the renderer? It does, yeah. Okay, fine. There's a lot of things we should probably change to be consistent. I'm a big stickler for consistency. God damn it. I just want to see it running. Failed to compile vertex shader. Something. What? Hey? Oh, hang on. You're right. It's not there, is it? Thank you. Okay, alright, we won't make mistakes. Still don't like it. 54. Do I even need that there? Like, I don't need the textures in the vertex shader. Oh. Material Manager 93. Could not find key 0. Material Manager 93. What's my advice on starting with Neovium? Like, you just gotta start, and you gotta suck it up, and you gotta hate it for a long time. You gotta build up the muscle memory. That's all you can do, as I'm afraid, and it's just a slog. I mean, this is not technically a C++ error-ish, kind of. Like, this is a stack trace, right? So what you're actually more probably complaining about is name mangling than anything else. Thoughts on relative line numbers? Hate it. Not for me. Just not for me. Oh, thank you very much. Glad you're here. Glad you're enjoying it. Sure, it is an ugly stack trace, but it does have all the information you need. So why is this? So where's this being called from? Renderer 72. Why is that material key being invalidated? Agreed, yes, you don't need to know all of the emotions. You just need to be able to kind of navigate around. Why has this got an invalid material key now? All I can think of, what have we changed? We yeah, it's very telling that it's index 0. I've got material key red, blue, green. Very bad names because we're not using those colors anymore. Those color tints don't make any difference anymore. Let's just check that it's not now the removing of it. Yeah, you kind of just got to commit and just like get used to it. Whoa. Okay. Lots of weird whoa. Ah, yes, you're right. That is going to be a problem. I'm absolutely mad on there, didn't I? That looks like the normal texture, right? something strange is going on here. The specular map is wrong. The normal map is wrong. Everything is... Did I... What? 0, 1, 2. 0, 1, 2. Yeah, there's... something awry here. Let's first look at texture manager. Yeah, what order on GPU? Also good show. That's right. So simple vert, it should be, sorry, frag. It should be albedo normal specular. Okay, so that matches. Then let's just check that. I mean, that shouldn't matter, right? As long as it doesn't matter what we call them internally, as long as this order matches this order, then that is fine. Oh, if only I could use RenderDoc. RenderDoc doesn't support bindless textures, so we're on our own. Yeah, I do wonder if this needs a pad. Like that, okay. Oh, that's gross. Don't like that. No, there's no alpha yet. So, ugh, do we... Can I just get rid of the color? Because I don't need it. It's just getting in my way. Yeah. It's not so much... The question is, for me, is not so much whether there's any padding being added to the CPU side, because I'm pretty sure there isn't. It's whether I need to add any padding to match the padding the GPU side is adding. So the static assert and offset of doesn't really help us in this case, because I can't static assert what OpenGL is doing. Blah. Of course, that will then not be happy with the debug UI, but that's easy enough to fix. In fact, actually, this makes the code a little bit simpler anyway. No, is that what I want? Hang on. Oh, let's get rid of it for now. I won't have a... That should just be like a label rather than a collapsing header, but that's fine. Eventually, I want to be able to change the indexes through DMGUI as well, so I can click around and have like a texture viewer and move stuff around, but for now, it's just if we can get it working. I mean, if it makes use short int where it makes sense to constrain the values, right? Sure. Hello, glad you're here. Lines, color is not memory material data in. Oh yeah, I don't need any of this now. Why is that? Let's go main. Let's. I would expect that to be 0, right? Yeah, so I don't know if you can see that, but it's definitely 0. That bot strikes again. Make it all slot 0. Let's just see what happens. Let's treat ourselves. So that is the albedo text, right? Obviously the normal map is fect, and so it's a specular map. And well, it depends, right? Depends who you're asking. If you're asking C++, a short is at least 2 bytes. An int is at least 2 bytes. That's what the standard says. Most implementations will have a 4-byte int, but the standard only guarantees you it's at least as big as a short, which is not very useful. So that looks right. Okay, so why? So what's 2 doing? This should be the specular map then. I feel like one of these is wrong. Like the copying them over or something is. Whoa. Specular, that is correct because it's a single channel. So all those textures are individually correct, okay, which we know, and are associated with that slot. But when you try and sample them separately, yeah, it seems like an index ordering issue. So append range in non-reversing order, okay? So that implies to me they are of the right order. We shouldn't need to add any offsets to the GPU side, right? Because the whole point is that this returns the relative index into the array where the new data is. So if there's 1,000 elements in there, this would return 1,000. Then we know that this would be 1,000, 1,001, 1,002. Okay, so fragment shader. What am I missing? So we've got textures in material. So we get the material index, which is the flat uint passed in from the vertex shader. And we know that, I'm pretty sure it's worked because we used to get the color out, right? So that should work. I don't understand why. And it's definitely like, this is right. It's passing in textures. Okay, let's go material manager. Let's just check this. This is all consistently right size. Is it an ordering thing? I feel like the normals would be right regardless. Like the normals are definitely wrong. That's not good normals. I'm struggling to visualize why that is wrong. Oh, hang on, wait a minute. I was looking at the wrong one. Is this now right? No, that's... I feel like the specular map is now right. So are these two the wrong way round? There's definitely some shenanigans going on somewhere. That's so the normal map there is right. Pretty sure. So so what did I just change? I changed those. So is this now 1 and 0? I feel like if I can get it rendering right, then it's easier for me to trace through why that order is incorrect. Okay, that's wrong. Okay, so fine. Which one was the normal text? So this had the normal texture correct, which is 1. So this is fine. So should this be... I don't think it's a fold. It's a template. It's a parameter pack expansion, isn't it? All right, this looks right. So that's got the specular map, that's got the normal map, and it's got the... and it's got the albedo. So why is that absolutely wrong? I guess I just... hang on, there's an easy way to check this. Right. Oh, I wish it was standardized. And then well, actually, I want just CPU buffer, don't I? because that's what is being copied over. I haven't got a debugger set up yet, unfortunately, because just the way this is set up. I need to set up GDB with MinGW and some other, sorry, Sigma and some other bullshit. So that's on me to set up. 856, 857, 858, 856, 857, 858. Like those. What? But we will need a debugger, and I will get it set up. I can't use VS Code because there's some bullshit I need to do if I want to get a PDB file. Because at the moment I have dwarf debugging. There's a whole journey I need to go through to get debugging set up. No, because I'm cross compiling with GCC, it embeds dwarf debug data rather than generating a PDB file, so the Windows debugger doesn't work. There is some project by the DLang people to convert them over, so that's also an avenue. So yeah, so that is fine. So yeah, let's go back to the frag shader, albedo, and then we go albedo normal specular. Unless, no, because it's not, can't even be a padding issue, because just moving them around works. No, I have no plans to add any anti-cheat because all the source code is available, so it'd be very counterintuitive for me to put anything on like that. Yeah, and the first one is knackered. Why is that going in a strange order? I mean, if you want to steal it, you need to build it yourself. So C++ is my DRM. We use them here, right? So the albedo text index for the albedo. What a fool! What a fool! What a fool! I'm an absolute cretin. Apologies, team. All right, that'll work. It wasn't even a copy paste issue. I just typed it wrong. Like I just typed it wrong. All right. Oh, look at that. We're back to exactly where we started at the beginning. Oh, that's depressing. Hang on, is that? What's going on there? Have I still got the? Oh, I was like, why have I got multiple lights? But I forgot I can change the ambient light color, can't I? And then I can change the point light color to get like funky whatever. And then these cubes are empty, which is fine because that's what I want. Oh, actually, can I still move those cubes around? I guess that's just checking. Yep. Okay. Cool. Whoop. Ah, Christ. Oh. I guess. So not these are all okay. So actually Nope, 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 nope. Yep. Okay. So commit fix material data it's on the wrong one. Hang on. Just wait a second as I failed to git. All right, let's try that again. All right, commit fix material data construction. And then, right, what we doing? We've got. It's quite a big commit, that, not a massive. Oh, actually, fix texture destruction. And then this is all, unfortunately, quite a large commit, which I really hate. I suppose I could. No, I can't bother. Make use SSBO for textures, and then that's basically part of that. To commit. Ooh. What have I done? Yeah, thank you. To integrate changes. Whew. I'm going to move the color over to the entity when we next need it. We don't need tinting at the moment, but I think we will do maybe a couple of streams time. Oh, okay, I didn't realize you could do that. I'll have a look. Maybe I can just output the PDB directly with GCC. I will check. Okay, so let's push that up and do some git things. Create pull request. Ooh, meaty PR this. So if anyone's new, we have GitHub Actions set up. So this will build it, check it, run the tests, and then once that's done, I can just bypass it, but I can merge it. When it gets merged, that then kicks up another action which auto patches the CMake file to increment the version number based on whether the PR description was major, minor, or patch. It then kicks off the release build, which then does a release build, packages it up, sticks in GitHub releases, and then pings over to Discord. But will it race? There is a race condition in my GitHub Actions. As all good CI pipelines have, there is a race condition. So we'll see. We'll get that going. I don't know if we're going to. I don't know if I can sit and watch it all. Okay, next stream. So pretty much stream every Wednesday and Sunday. So this going Wednesday should be no different. What was I going to say? Stream. We'll start the deferred renderer. I wanted to update the ImGUI stuff so that you could add and remove entities, and then that the lights had something you could click on to move around. But tag lights commit. Thank you. Yes. Stream 11. To be honest, I think that's kind of a bit boring in the nicest possible way. It needs to be done, but I really want to. I feel like we've been faffing around with this for too long. I want to do the deferred renderer. I do want to do some interest. I do want to try and have ImGUI render the separate render targets out from the gbuffer as well. I think that might be quite cool to see, considering we can't use RenderDoc anymore. Stream 12 already. I know. Already been 12 streams, and look at everything we've created. So my plan is next stream, spend the whole stream just doing the deferred renderer. I reckon in 2 hours we could bash it out. I reckon, or at least a first pass. And then we're going to probably spend a stream tidying up some of the ImGUI stuff, getting just some. I'm tempted to switch to their docking branch and just have a slightly better UI, but I think what I want is you select an entity, then you get a new window pop up with just those entities' details. So if it's a light, you get the light view. If it's the entity, you get the entity view. Then have some sort of texture viewer so we can see all the textures, and then a material builder so we can build the materials. And then get all that done. Again, I reckon we could probably spend this. And then I really want to tidy up the buffer usage before we go any further, and the material use and the manager usage. So I reckon that could be a solid stream of just tidying stuff up. But it'd be good fun because I think it'll look quite nice afterwards. Do that, and then I don't really know what to. We could check. We could check the plan. So I guess the material system is kind of done. Like, it will need expanding, but like the machinery is kind of there, right? We are tithed out. Do the deferred render, then I guess model loading would make the next most sensible thing to do. Well, we need to. I have some like modular level assets, so we should be able to drop those in and then like move them around and build out a mini level. We need to get a gun in there. And then, hang on, sorry, give me 1 second. And then we've got a whole bunch of other like graphics bits to do. Okay, so we need to do HDR, I need to do SAO, we need to do FXAA. I want to do Bloom. I really, this is why I really want to get to decals. I think it's gonna be really good fun. And then really like writing additional decal data into the G buffer before we do the lighting pass. I think that's going to be really good fun. And then what's that? I've got to do threading at some point, and then we need to do integrate jolt, physics simulation, character controller, basic animation blending. I really want to do ragdoll, and then after I kind of ran out of steam kind of ideas. This is probably the rough order I'll do things in. Get a big chunk of the graphic stuff done out the way. I think before we integrate any bigger systems, we really need to do threading, because I'm worried that I'm already writing a lot of thread unsafe code, and I don't want to write so much that it's a massive pain. But I think all this stuff, all the rendering pipeline, we can just keep building out. I don't need scenes and LOD. Like, we're just writing a little level that we can run around and shoot. Like, I'm gonna keep. I have to keep the scope small, because it's just me doing this for a couple of hours a week. Do you know what I mean? Twice a week, and I really want. And it sounds like a long time, but I really want to get this done in 12 months. Right? That's what we spent on the last project. So, scenes, levels, LODs, probably out of scope because we just don't need them. I need to get Skybox in there at some point. Maybe like a basic particle system, probably CPU driven. Okay, merge, confirm merge. Let's see if it races. So this will now kick off a action to. So the race conditions in here. Sometimes GitHub doesn't. It can't. We've passed. It fails. I think here it can't get the merged PR or something. I'm not quite sure what happens, but it fails at this point. I think it runs quicker than GitHub is reflecting the change. So this automatically updates the CMake file, commits the job, and then now if we go back to actions, this will do the release. So this will take a while. This now has to do a full build and run CPAC. But if we check out main and put it down, we should see, yeah, there was a CI commit which bumped the version. I've only used GitHub Actions for personal projects, and I've not had any issues with it. I've not used it professionally, so I don't really have an opinion other than it's all right. Okay. Embiggen myself. That's all I got. That's it. That's all I got. It was good fun. We had good C++ discussion today, went through some fun stuff, wrote some shader code. All in all, I would reflect on this as a mostly positive, as a positive. Let's commit as a positive stream. Oh yeah, that dry January 0% Guinness is calling my name. That's it. I might hang out on Discord for a bit, but I'm going to bed soon. I'm going to probably edit these shorts up tomorrow because I just cannot do it tonight. Other than that, I will catch you all, or I will see you all anon.